On this episode of Geek Dad Life, we're going to see what Arcade1Up showed us at CES 2020. Hey everybody, and welcome to Geek Dad Life. It's your host, Jay Gladfelter here, and it is 2020, and with it a new CES, and Arcade1Up has unveiled a lot of new products that are coming our way this year. And while I couldn't make it to CES, one of my good friends, Marco, who's the host of Kicks and Comics, a podcast that discusses both comics, pop culture, as well as shoes, was actually attending. So I asked, while he was there, could he check out the Arcade1Up booth? Because, I wanted to kind of see some of the different things that they were unveiling. As you can see, I have a little Arcade1Up collection here, and I definitely having a keen eye on what do I want to add next to the Jay's Arcade. So Marco was kind enough to kind of report live from CES, and so I'm going to turn it over to him, and as we go through some of the different pictures and videos that he took, I'm going to take a couple pauses here and there to talk about some of the products that has me really excited, and hopefully be able to see what you are excited about as well. Let us know in the comments. But without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Marco.
What's up, everyone? It's Marco from Kicks and Comics, coming to you from CES 2020. We're doing a partnership with Geek Dad Life. Our friend Jay Gladfelter asked me to get some footage and pictures of Arcade1Up, and we're about to do that. As you can see behind me right here, this is their display. They have an awesome NBA Jam console right here. I know that's one of their big features. This coming year is going to have an NBA Jam cabinet. So we're going to go take a look, get some video and some photos. So come along with us. Thanks.
First up, probably the biggest reveal. Pinball is probably, it's like Pinball and NBA Jam. They really kind of brought a lot of stuff to CES, but the NBA Jam reveal was a big one. I think it's one we were all expecting, especially after they came out with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet. But the fact that it has online multiplayer is huge, and it looks like it's Wi-Fi connected. I think it's just a really neat innovation and step forward for Arcade1Up. Will I add it to my arcade? I'm not 100% sure. I like NBA Jam, but I only have so much space. I have to get very picky, especially with these pinball machines coming as well. So don't know if I'm going to add it, but it looks amazing. I thought the Sega Multicade cabinet was a cool reveal with Golden Axe, The Revenge of the Death Adder, as well as Alter Beast, Shinobi, and Wrestle War. I think that's pretty cool. Not my favorite game, I probably won't get it, but the Frogger one is interesting, but still might be a pass for me, but I'm not 100% sure yet. And another one that I don't know is the 40th anniversary Pac-Man cabinet. I really am looking for the sit-down cocktail 8-in-1 because it also has Dig Dug on there as well as Galaga. I have a full upright Galaga, but that one has Dig Dug, and I think it would fit perfect right here. But the 40th anniversary does not have Dig Dug, so that's why I was like, it looks really cool. It has that kind of cool cabaret feel, but it might just be a pass for me. We're going to get a quick glance at it here, but the Burger Time exclusive arcade multicade on the Arcade1Up website is really neat, looks awesome, and just a really neat love letter to the fans. All right, this one was kind of a surprise to see. Was the looks like they were making mini home console kind of games, as well as some recreations of the Coleco tabletop arcade games, as well as some controllers with games built in, look like DuckTales and some others. So I thought those looked really interesting. I really love New Wave Toys Replicate Amusements arcade games, and I have the Dragon's Lair pre-ordered to add to my collection. So I really love what they're doing with their kind of miniaturized versions of arcade games, and I think they kind of fit in with my Arcade1Up machines. So it's interesting to see Arcade1Up kind of get into that field, a bit of a different angle with having the retro CRT TVs, and we all know I have one of those too. So I think that's a lot of fun and has a lot of potential. And the Coleco style small arcade games, I know there's a big community online of people that make custom Coleco style arcade games with like RetroP and stuff like that, or RetroPie, whatever you call it. So neat to have more, maybe a more official version of one of those little Coleco games, possibly. But still, a neat reveal at this CES 2020. An interesting update to the Atari Star Wars cabinet is the sit-down option. Now, the original arcade had two versions, a sit-down kind of cockpit version, as well as this one that was the stand-up arcade. This kind of seems to be an in-between, where it's like a little stool that you can sit down with. I wasn't there in person. I was able to try it in person. I don't know how comfortable that seated position would be for playing it, but it could be pretty cool. So I would hope maybe they would sell just the stool separately, so for people that already have the Star Wars cabinet, they can just kind of switch it depending on what they want to experience in terms of gameplay. Last but certainly not least is the Arcade1Up pinball machines. Now, the news of this was kind of leaked a few days before CES. A lot of the different outlets were kind of talking about it, and it had me really excited because I've wanted to add a pinball game to the collection here. I do like pinball machines. You've seen some tours, different arcades that I've done, but they're really expensive, and there is a certain maintenance and upkeep that comes along with those. And then something I also been looking at is one of the digital versions of a pinball game, but those are also still really expensive. So the fact that Arcade1Up is getting into it, and they look fantastic. They kind of showed a Star Wars pinball game, as well as Attack on Mars, kind of a Bally Midway pinball machine, and they both just look fantastic. And from people that were actually there in person, like I know Cool Toy was there, say it feels really good. The response is really good from the flippers. So it has me really excited. Between the two, I'll probably go with the Bally Midway one, just because there's so many classic games there. And I'm just gonna hope that maybe they'll do like a Pat Lawler one with Twilight Zone and Addams Family, and maybe it's a lot of IP that they maybe not be able to come up with, but still it'd be really neat to see something like that. So really excited for the Pinball Unveils, the Pinball Reveals, and I wonder if you are as well. Let me know in the comments between the two pinball machines unveiled, which one should I add? And I think with the Star Wars one is like I've liked the different Star Wars pinball games, nothing against them, but I don't want it to be too Star Wars heavy. I already have the Atari Star Wars game here, which to me is the kind of pinnacle of Star Wars arcade, and even though you have a lot of other great Star Wars arcade games out there. So probably a pass on the Star Wars pinball, but definitely interested in that Bally Midway multi-pinball machine. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Geek Dad Life. Want to again send big thanks to Marco from Kicks and Comics for being our on-the-ground reporter and photographer and cinematographer from CES. Really appreciate him partnering with us on this episode. If you want to check him out, their Instagram handle is at Kicks and Comics, or Kicks and Comics at. And you can also find his show on iTunes very easily, or I guess not iTunes anymore, Apple Podcasts, Kicks and Comics. I'll have a link in the description as well. Definitely check out his show if you like pop culture discussion podcasts with a passion for shoes. I'm not as much a big shoe guy, but if you follow his personal Instagram as well as their podcast and stuff, he's got like an amazing collection of shoes. So definitely check out Kicks and Comics. All right, if you enjoy what we do here, hit like, hit subscribe, and click on that bell icon to be notified when the latest episode of Geek Dad Life drops. That'll do it for this episode. Until next time, hasta luego, and goodbye.